What's going on, guys? It's Colin here for NextGenTactics, and I wanted to bring back my Rush Playbook series and cover the map Arica Harbor, because that is the one that tends to be the most frequently requested. People are looking for help on this map, so I thought I would bring it to you. And off the start, I'm going to show you a couple of the rushing routes that I like to take, and what happened when I attempted to get this footage. And right there, I'll show you why that was a mistake that I made there in that first rush. And here in the second time, I try and hug the right and go for the Bravo objective. And I get caught up on the wall and shot by a tank. So, you know, the longer the game's been out, right here I get a hit marker. I don't know how I didn't get a roadkill, but c'est la vie. And now that the game's been out for quite a while, most of these tricky tactics, the defenses are going to expect them. So unless you really catch them off guard or hanging out in their choose class screen, it's going to be very, very tough to rush plant these. But let's look at the first base here, and there you can see we have the two objectives, Alpha and Bravo, and the rectangle in red, that is the enemy vehicle spawn and their original deployment. And the two red dots, those are the stationary AT emplacements. So when I took that initial left-hand rushing route, I cut in before the top stationary AT emplacement. That was my mistake. I should have flanked all the way around behind. But what you want to focus on is taking the Bravo objective on this base, because Alpha is in a destructible building. So there are other ways to take that down other than arming it, and typically it gets shelled all to pieces by tanks and it drops anyway. So these are the rush routes I tried to take, and at the very top you can see the dotted green line. What you can occasionally do is sneak into the base, and if they haven't pulled all their tanks out of spawn, you can steal one of those and use it to your advantage. Although again, increasingly that is available less and less as a tactic. So given that I showed that both of these rush routes have failed, and I tried a bunch of times to get footage, why don't we take a look at what we actually do to take down the Bravo objective. And what happens is one of my squad mates pushes a tank up, and we're trying to control this open area out in front of the objectives. And we have a tank crew working hard to keep our tank healthy, take down any enemy tanks, and basically control that area. And then from there, I'm just going to hook in a couple of times and take the Bravo objective. Now there are two small trailers both in front of and behind the objective. Both of those make pretty good control points in order to launch an attack, and you'll see that I try and launch my attack from the front trailer. So why don't we actually watch this play out in real time, and I just reduce the playbook up into the upper left hand corner. It's a little bit transparent, so you can kind of see what's going on in the kill feed, but here you can see that we've slowly moved a tank up the right hand side, and we are controlling this open area. And because this first map of Arica Harbor is quite wide open on the approach, and it's a long narrow approach, it can be very, very challenging to take this down if you don't catch the defense off guard. And if you don't, and your initial rushes fail, then if you keep trying to just plow your way in there with a vehicle, you're not going to be successful. So we have to take a slow and steady approach and focus on Bravo. And I'm not too concerned about Alpha, because what's happening is my squad mate who's driving the tank, when we're not dealing with immediate threats out here in front of the objectives, he's launching a few shells at the Alpha building just to clear it out. And when that happens, eventually it's going to drop through Destruction 2.0 and take down the objectives. So Bravo really needs to be your focus. Right here you see I tried to make an attack and I got taken out. We destroy one enemy tank, and I hop into this trailer and I actually got mowed down. I accidentally cut that out. Now, if you have two teammates in this tank, you will actually have to call out for a spawn point. So what's happening is the driver stays in the tank, and the gunner will actually hop out and give me a place to spawn. So right now we're just dealing with the defender's tanks a little bit more, and eventually we clear the area and make a push into the Bravo objective, which I'm going to do right here, I think. And, I'm just trying to take my time, watching my corners, because, if we manage to all get pushed back, then, that's a huge setback, and it's really a challenge to get clear up as far as we are again, because, again, it's such a long and narrow runway to get into this first set of objectives. So the vehicle superiority is really, really important. I always run the engineer kit on this first base, and I'm going to finally get in here and get Bravo disarmed, and I'm just going to hang out until it blows up, and then I get taken out. But as you can see, before I ever have the chance to spawn in again, the building around Alpha drops. And I would say that more than 90% of the time that I play this base, the Alpha building goes down and the objective's taken through Destruction 2.0. So that's why I always focus on Bravo. So now we're actually going to move on to the second base, and the Alpha objective is hidden in a garage that needs to be opened up with some sort of explosive. The Bravo objective in this scenario is in a destructible building. So the threats you really need to focus on are the heavy MG and stationary AT emplacements, which are marked on the left here, and those are on top of the two tall construction buildings. And at the end of the road, there's another stationary AT emplacement, and that's where you also have to focus on a threat from the enemy tank. So now I'm going to show you basically my attacking routes that I'd like to use on this second base, and we'll watch a couple of those play out. Now, the path that I like to take almost every time when moving from base 1 to base 2 as a first attempt is down along the rocks and taking the far left beach route in order to get into the base. And as you can see, I've marked a little green rectangle there along that left-hand route, and there's two buildings there that we like to use sort of as a squad rendezvous point, just to make sure that anyone who's been taken down can spawn on the squad, so we have full support. And from there, we're going to launch an explosive in order to open up the garage door in front of Alpha. So Alpha is actually buried in a garage with a couple of metal doors in front of it that you have to open up, and Bravo's in a destructible building. So we always focus on Alpha first. Occasionally we'll flank all the way around and behind Bravo and try and arm it as a distraction to get Alpha, but we will send someone in from the left-hand side of the street over in to take Alpha most often. Now, if we wind up in a really tough battle where the defenders are stacked up on the left-hand side, we will sort of hug the right-hand corner around the rocks and go down that way, and we'll use one of those two green rectangles as a rendezvous point. I personally like to push beyond Alpha and sort of hole up in one of the two buildings beyond it as a spawn point, and you'll actually see both of these play out. So first is going to be sort of a left-hand attack that works out. The second is going to be what happens when we find the defenders are stacked up to the left and we sneak around to the right. So, as you can see here, I'm just moving out of base 1, and I'm heading directly to the left. And you should note on this map that you are attacking south to north. So, where the enemies spawn and then their vehicles and all that, that's the northernmost part of this base. So, we'll use those directions for callouts. And so basically, I'm going to head down and try and rendezvous in the northwest brick building. And I'm just kind of staying in cover. You can see here off in the left, right here, I'm going to pick up a defender who's lurking in the rocks waiting for us to come this way, and just make sure I have a squad mate on me. I'm going to toss an ammo pack, and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm exposed to the heavy MG on the double construction building as little as possible. So right now, we've kind of set up our rendezvous point, cleared that building, and now I'm going to move on to the next building once I just take a look to see if there's any threats up there on the construction building. And yeah, we're just going to move in with the squad, and we're going to go for Bravo and Alpha at the same time. So somebody's going to cut across the street here shortly, and we're going to try and push Bravo and get that armed. And I'm actually in this match running the F2000, which I finally have platinum, but I don't particularly like. And right here, I'm going to stop and shoot this defender because he's covering the street. He's going to prevent us from getting to Alpha, and now we're going to try and move in for the plant on Bravo. Now, I'm going to move around the building because one of my teammates has just gone in to arm the objective, and I'm going to try and cut off any defenders that are going for the disarm. And right here, I get a couple of them with the F2000, but then I get hit in the back, and that was called out, but I just wasn't able to react in time. But luckily, the squad mate stays alive in the building, knowing that I was knifed outside. And now we're going to focus our attention across the street on Alpha. So as we were focused on Bravo, one of the squad mates ran across and armed Alpha, and this one went down pretty much without a hitch. I did take a death, but you know, no big deal, and clear out the base a little bit. Now, this is from a round where we encountered a much stronger defense, and our tactics were not working as well. And we've managed to take down Bravo, leaving Alpha by itself. And as I mentioned, you know, Bravo's in a destructible building, and Alpha's not. So if you leave the defenders to focus on one objective, sometimes, you know, if that's not in a destructible building, that's going to create problems for you. So what we do is actually sneak around the right-hand side here, slowly and carefully. And you see, I did pick off one of the defenders who had a vantage point on our exit from spawn, and I'm just going to chuck a grenade in this building to see if I hear anything. I'm listening for enemies to call out that there's a grenade nearby. And that was actually really bizarre. I must have threaded that grenade right through the building because I actually blew up a tank with it. And I laugh when that happened. But basically what we're doing is, if you refer to the playbook, we are trying to set up a rendezvous point and control the right-hand side of the map. And then eventually, once we're in the clear, I'm going to drop down over the edge and head right into Alpha. So that's probably the most direct route you can take. And if you can establish, you know, a presence here on the right-hand side, which would actually be the western side of the road, then it's a fairly easy task to get into Alpha, as long long as the garage door has already been blown open, which in this case it has. So I'm going to clear off the threats from the double construction building, because they have a line of sight into the objective, and once I know that I have a couple of squad mates on me, I'm going to head out of the building and drop down into Alpha. Now, our random teammates actually get in and arm this before I have the chance, but you can see the general idea of the route, and you know, I'm just clearing the area on this side and heading down into Alpha. So I'll hop over this wall and hook right into the garage and right into the objective. You can see they have it armed, and now we're just going to kind of sit here and defend it. So anyway, guys, I hope you like this this video format. Leave a thumbs up if you want to see more. I will, regardless, bring the second part of Arica Harbor in another video where I'll cover the last 3 bases and the routes and tactics that I like to use there. But this game is almost over. Well, actually, the game's not almost over, but this video certainly is. And we basically just stack up the objective. We have about 15 tickets left, and we take it down, and yeah. Now we're on to base 3. So that'll be in a future video. Just going to clear up one more enemy here, and that's it for me, guys. Cheers. We'll talk soon.
Hey guys, we now have our own website. Actually, we've always had our own website, but why not follow us on there? There you'll find all our videos conveniently sorted into playlists by game, as well as videos from many other directors that are part of our NGT network. And here you can create subscriptions for individual games and only receive notifications for new videos uploaded for the games that you are subscribed to. Isn't that fantastic? No more spam video email notifications. And stay in touch with us on our full featured forums. Remember, all the relevant links are always in the description of our videos. Click on them. Come join us on our website. We'll see you there.